In 2022, a Dutch and Danish film was released called Speak No Evil. Now, just 2 years later, we've gotten an English language remake. Was this necessary? And then, is it even good? A family's invited to spend a weekend in an idyllic country house, unaware that their dream vacation will soon become a psychological nightmare. In case you've not seen any of the incessant marketing for this, it stars James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, Scoot McNairy, and Aisling Franciosi. Now, the whole premise is that these two families meet while on vacation, and they somewhat hit it off. So McNairy's family accepts an invitation to stay at McAvoy's farm for a getaway. Now, the original movie, it's quite dark and really leans into feudalism, along with just some other harrowing themes that it likes to explore. Now, this remake, it starts off this way as well. But James McAvoy had come out well before the film's release to state that they had reworked and redone the ending. Honestly, that had me very worried. There is a huge layer of discomfort that runs throughout the story. Even if you've never seen a trailer, the looks and the mannerisms McAvoy employs are meant to set your teeth on edge and then raise those hairs on the back of your neck just to let you know that something isn't right. McAvoy oftentimes, he has this straight and serious face when delivering dialogue that's either pointed or it's wildly uncomfortable. And then he'll break that seriousness through jest, leading us to not know what's truth and what's just for twisted fun. And as a side note, McAvoy, he is jacked in this. I mean, at one point he was giving off huge Split vibes with just these massive shoulder muscles and a very ripped physique. I mean, that has nothing to do with the plot or even the storyline, but it is hard not to see the similarities in body structure for the characters. Now, if you have seen the trailer, you know it gives away a massive spoiler, which I think is incredibly irresponsible. It reveals so much of the underlying storyline. And then, quite honestly, I was afraid it was going to remove all of the stress and the tension that's then inherent to the plot, at least as far as the original was concerned. And this one follows a lot of the same trajectory and arcs that the original laid out. So much so that I was almost a bit anxious, just simply from having to wait until the story kicked into the more terrifying and disturbing gears. But even though I knew where this was headed, I was still writhing with stress just thanks to the intensity of the performances. I mean, not only is McAvoy giving off odd vibes, McNairy is frustratingly meek and unsure of himself. He's the complete opposite of McAvoy's extreme confidence. And the difference is not only striking, but it's incredibly effective in creating an unbalanced dynamic. Now, Aisling Franciosi, who's been in a few psychologically messed up movies like The Nightingale and Stop Motion, I mean, here, she's more subdued and a little timid. Not to the degree of McNairy's character, but she is a good parallel to him. And Mackenzie Davis as McNairy's wife, she is more akin to McAvoy. Strong, watchful, aware of all that's going on around. I mean, even though her alarms and her senses go off, she's also painted as this helicopter and overprotective parent, coddling her daughter at any discomfort rather than allowing her to experience mild inconveniences that are going to help her grow. I mean, she's also the stronger partner in their marriage. Where McNairy's uncertain and wavers, Mackenzie is steadfast and decisive. She thinks on her feet and can make sound decisions under pressure. Now, it's cool to watch the parallels of the two relationships play out, even though the roles are reversed between the genders. They each showcase this dominant and sometimes overbearing partner who's coupled with one that rarely will speak up for themselves. Now, the anxiety and even frustration that this creates, I thought it was wonderful for the narrative because it continuously invests us in the dynamics, even when we're pissed that a character won't act when we and they know they should. Now, I mentioned that McAvoy had stated that they changed the ending for this version. And for as worried as I was about how it would affect the overall impact of the story, the whole final act was a butt-clenching thrill. Yeah, this does fall way more into a traditional form of horror and thrills. So where the original was filled with almost unimaginable shocks, this one follows familiar action beats that I think are still intense. They're just not shocking or imaginative. And thanks to the new trajectory of the ending, even if you've seen the original, you can still experience the nervous energy of the climax. Now, the slow burn nature of the first half of the movie, it works to establish the uncertain tone that's presented by McAvoy. That underlying dread and discomfort, they're almost always present, but they grow effectively to charge the emotional punch that comes later. For as much as that's the same and different within the original and remake, there's one scene between McAvoy and McNairy that was kept intact, and it is a powerful moment that is so devious and conniving at its core. I mean, on the surface, the actions work to showcase bonding, even empathy, but the true intention is darkly scheming. I was pleasantly surprised with this remake. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the original, but I certainly can appreciate the storytelling as well as the shocking outcomes. Here, despite knowing the overall trajectory, whether that be from familiarity with the original or just the excessive reveals delivered within the film's marketing, the story still embodies an immense amount of distressing apprehension. And while the final act chooses to be less surprising and follow standard and overused horror sequencing, the energy and intensity deliver a nail-biting climax. The actors nail the performances, delivering palpable personas that elicit visceral responses. McAvoy is terrifying. McNairy is exasperating. Mackenzie is frustrating, and Franciosi is enabling. I mean, if you're in the mood for something thrilling, even if it isn't surprising, you may want to give this one a go. The original still exists, and it's wildly upsetting. So if you're looking for something more unique, watch the non-English one instead. There's no sex or nudity, a ton of profanity, and then a lot of very brutal violence. I give Speak No Evil 3.5 out of 5 couches. So what's something that you're looking forward to seeing in the coming weeks? Let me know about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.